Well, choo-choo, my friends, because we are on the train to speculation station one more time. Because today, we are diving into the latest in the Detroit Red Wings and their goaltending trade situation. Yeah, I know, it's kind of counterintuitive to make a video like this because it's like, wait a minute, Lego, what are you talking about? Red Wings goaltender trades? Doesn't the team have like a billion injuries on net? Yeah, exactly. That's why it's so weird to go out there and make a video like this at this time. I will acknowledge it's kind of ill-placed, but there have been some conversations that I do think we can dive into here today when it comes to the Detroit Red Wings, when it comes to the Canadiens, when it comes to the Oilers, when it comes to a bunch of NHL teams, and a very particular name who was mentioned on the block. Today we're talking about Red Wings goaltender Cam Talbot. Say what you want about whether or not he is the de facto starter for Detroit at the moment, but Cam Talbot is a pretty good veteran presence, I would say, that the Red Wings have in their goaltending system. 38 years old, 6'3", 201 left-handed catching goaltender, signed on till the end of this year, making $2.5 million. That's a pretty good amount of money for the stability and the play that Talbot can provide. He was a very consistent 900-plus caliber goaltender for these years here. Spare a few years with the Oilers and one with the Ottawa Senators, Cam Talbot has always been very solid. And last year, even with the Detroit Red Wings, he had a .901 save percentage. The year before that in LA, he was a total beast. .913 save percentage in 54 games, only to unfortunately get lit up by Connor McDavid and the Oilers in the playoffs. Yeah, sorry Cam, you're not going to live that one down, but it's okay. The LA Kings as a whole haven't really found a way to beat that Leon and Connor two-headed monster. This season, Cam Talbot has an .892 save percentage in 9 games played, .293 goals against, but he is 6-2-0. I'd say the Detroit Red Wings, for the most part, they've gotten themselves some really good parts of their season so far. Goaltending hasn't particularly been one of them. You can see the save percentages here, .892, .882. We've been talking this entire time about how the Red Wings PDO is super low, despite the fact that they are one of the top teams in the NHL. And that contributes exactly to that stat. The goaltenders have not been having high save percentages. The shooting percentages have been low too. It's a low PDO number all throughout, which makes sense if you take a look at how this team has been performing, because they've been getting results, but they still have more potential. Now, for Cam Talbot in particular, the reason we are talking about him in a trade-like capacity is because of a conversation that was held on the Daily Faceoff's Rundown show. And I wanted to leave a link in the description to this article posted on ProHockeyRumors.com that dives into the scoop. Actually, no, I take that back. It was on Daily Faceoff Live. Excuse me, not the Daily Rundown show. They have a bunch of different shows over there. But let's go out there and read this piece by Brendan McQueen to get ourselves an idea as to what this Cam Talbot trade update sees. In a recent update on Daily Faceoff Live, David Pagnotta of the Fourth Period reported that Detroit Red Wings netminder Cam Talbot could become the most viable goaltending trade candidate by the deadline. Any trade for Talbot would depend on Detroit falling out of playoff contention by the deadline and the interested teams not having internal improvements in their goaltending situation. Assuming the Florida Panthers and Carolina Hurricanes don't peddle Bobrovsky or Anderson respectively, Talbot could be considered one of the most movable netminders at the deadline should he be made available. He's a pending UFA on a more than affordable $2.5 million salary and has no trade protection to overcome. Furthermore, he has been a consistent, albeit unimpressive netminder for his entire career, which is more than most teams can count on each night. Ever since 2019-20, despite playing for 5 different teams, Talbot has compiled a 134, 85, and 23 record in 254 games, with a .909 save percentage and a .273 GAA. He gets better the more he plays in the postseason, though it's been 5 years since he spent any meaningful time in the playoffs. This season, while sharing the crease with John Gibson, Talbot has earned a 6-2-0 record in 9 games with that .892 and .293 GAA that we had spoken about. Now, this over here at the bottom is where things get particularly interesting. Entertaining the idea that the Wings may make Talbot available for trade by the deadline, there are a few teams that should be interested. The Edmonton Oilers, Utah Mammoth, and even the Montreal Canadiens could all use some veteran depth in net. Still, there is plenty of time for each of the listed teams to improve their goaltending performance by March, rendering any reason to seek out Talbot via a trade moot. So, let's just nip the elephant in the bud right here. Is that even... Oh, absolutely, that's not how it goes. Nip it in the bud. Elephant in the room. Yeah, no, sorry. My brain just totally shut off. Let's just go over the big idea here. If the Detroit Red Wings fall out of playoff contention, if they spiral away and they lose whatever running they have for a wild card or what have you, then this might happen. But if the Wings stay competitive, if they are in the mix, if they're in a wild card or in a top 3 Atlantic spot by the time January rolls around, I think the likelihood of them making some sort of a Talbot move goes out the window. Still, because this was talked about by the folks on Daily Faceoff Live and David Pagnotta, who of course runs the 4th period, let's dive into each of these teams and talk about what Cam Talbot could bring them, starting out with the Edmonton Oilers. Now, the Oilers have been linked to Talbot already. They've been linked to a bunch of guys, even John Gibson for years. He was always linked over to that team. But right now, the Oilers are carried by Stu Skinner, who in 13 games has an .889 save percentage, and Cal Pickard, who in 7 games has an .830 save percentage. I'm gonna be honest, man, Cal Pickard at this time, he is unplayable. Like, this guy inspires no confidence for Oilers fans, even for the players in front of him. Like, some of the shots that just go in on this guy, they're like, how do you let that in, man? Calvin Pickard, with his .830 save percentage, is one of the worst goaltenders in the National Hockey League this season. But really, it's like, can you blame him? I mean, the Oilers' defense has always been a question mark, and then you have the idea that Pickard is only really being given NHL minutes because he plays on the Oilers. We always knew this team needed goaltending support, and Cam Talbot, to his credit, actually was an Edmonton Oiler once upon a time. He was pretty good with them back in the mid-2010s. So could some sort of a reunion be in store here? Is that actually possible? Let's dive into the Montreal Canadiens, because this, of course, is super fun for me to talk about. The Habs have Jakub Dobeš, whose .901 save percentage is a pretty steep decline from what he had accomplished before then. And Montembeault has an .857. Now, Monty has not been good either. Like, I think a lot of the Canadian fan sentiment for this guy heading into the year was all positive. It was very believing. They thought, hey, Monty was a stable option. Maybe not a number 1A on a true elite caliber team, but a guy that you can thrust in there and just not worry about. But oh boy, are Canadiens fans worrying about Montembeault this season. Now, for Jakub Dobeš, he's been very good too, but he's 24 years old, and this is technically his first full season in the National Hockey League, and he's already shown that he can do very good things, he can win games, he can be productive, but the last game against Dallas, I mean, the guy let in 5 goals against on 13 total shots, he had a .615 save percentage, probably the worst showing he's had as an NHL goaltender. It was not a good one, and unfortunately, pucks were just leaking in through him. The game against New Jersey, where he ended up crying in the postgame, also was the first loss that he had of the year, and that was over a week ago. They gave this guy a lot of rest. So, Dobeš, he is good, and he can be on top of his game, but it's not too projectable as a number 1 bona fide starter at the moment. Meanwhile, you head over to the Utah Mammoth and you see what they're doing. Hey, Karel Vejmelka has an .883 and Vitek Vanacek has an .875. The Mammoth have been good, but they could use some veteran netminding presence. They got rid of Ingram. He's in Edmonton now, but of course that's not really a projectable situation in the short term. So, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below whether or not Cam Talbot, should the Red Wings fall out of the playoff race, actually makes sense for any of these teams. If you're a fan of the Canadiens, the Oilers, or the Mammoth, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Cam Talbot? I hope you enjoyed this Swedish Ash Roll 99, and bye.